The Shurangama Sutra, Volume 1, 70. Stated in that way, Bhagavan, there is no difference between the two kinds of blackness, that seen by a person in a dark room and that seen by the blind. Ananda, if the person without the use of his eyes, who sees only darkness, were suddenly to regain his sight and see all kinds of forms, and you say it is his eyes which see, then when a person in a dark room who sees only darkness suddenly sees all kinds of forms because a lamp is lit, you should say it is the lamp which sees. If the lamp did the seeing, it would be endowed with sight. But then we would not call it a lamp any more. Besides, if the lamp were to do the seeing, what would that have to do with you? Therefore you should know that while the lamp can reveal forms, the eyes, not the lamp, do the seeing. And while the eyes can reveal forms, the seeing nature comes from the mind, not the eyes. Although Ananda and everyone in the great assembly had heard what was said, their minds had not yet understood, and so they remained silent. Hoping to hear more of the gentle sounds of the Tathagata's teaching, they put their palms together, purified their minds, and stood waiting for the Tathagata's compassionate instruction. Then the Bhagavan extended his bright hand that is as soft as tula cotton, opened his 5 webbed fingers, and told Ananda in the great assembly, "When I first accomplished the way, I went to the deer park, and for the sake of Ajnata Kaundinya, and all 5 of the bhikshus, as well as for you of the fourfold assembly, I said, 'It is because beings are impeded by transitory defilements and afflictions, that they do not realize Bodhi or become arhats.' At that time, what caused you, who have now realized the various fruitions of sagehood, to become enlightened?" Then Ajnata Kaundinya arose and said to the Buddha, "Of the elders now present in the great assembly, only I received the name understanding, because I was enlightened to the meaning of transitory defilements and realized the fruition. Bhagavan, the analogy can be made of a traveler who stops as a guest at a roadside inn, perhaps for the night or perhaps for a meal. When he has finished lodging there, or when the meal is finished, he packs his baggage and sets out again. He does not remain there at his leisure. The host himself, however, does not leave. Considering it this way, the one who does not remain is called the guest, and the one who does remain is called the host. The transitory guest, then, is the one who does not remain. Again, the analogy can be made to how, when the sun rises resplendent on a clear morning, its golden rays stream into a house through a crack to reveal particles of dust in the air. The dust dances in the rays of light, but the empty space is unmoving. Considering it in that way, what is clear and still is called space, and what moves is called dust. The defiling dust, then, is that which moves. The Buddha said, "So it is." Then in the midst of the great assembly, the Tathagata bent his 5 webbed fingers. After bending them, he opened them again. After he opened them, he bent them again, and he asked Ananda, "What do you see now?" Ananda said, "I see the Tathagata's hand opening and closing in the midst of the assembly, revealing his 100-jeweled, wheeled palms." The Buddha said to Ananda, "You see my hand open and close in the assembly. Is it my hand that opens and closes, or is it your seeing that opens and closes?" Ananda said, "Bhagavan's jeweled hand opened and closed in the assembly. I saw the Tathagata's hand itself open and close, while my seeing nature neither opened nor closed." The Buddha said, "What moved and what was still?" Ananda said, "The Buddha's hand did not remain at rest, and since my seeing nature is beyond even stillness, how could it not be at rest?" The Buddha said, "So it is." Then from his wheeled palm the Tathagata sent a gem-like ray of light flying to Ananda's right. Ananda immediately turned his head and glanced to the right. The Buddha then sent another ray of light to Ananda's left. Ananda again turned his head and glanced to the left. The Buddha said to Ananda, "Why did your head move just now?" Ananda said, "I saw the Tathagata emit a wonderful gem-like light which flashed by my left and right, and so I looked left and right. My head moved by itself." Ananda, when you glanced at the Buddha's light and moved your head left and right, was it your head that moved or your seeing that moved? Bhagavan, my head moved of itself. Since my seeing nature is beyond even cessation, how could it move? The Buddha said, "So it is." Then the Tathagata told everyone in the assembly, "Normally beings would say that the defiling dust moves, and that the transitory guest does not remain. You have observed that it was Ananda's head moved, yet his seeing did not move. You have also observed my hand open and close, yet your seeing did not stretch or bend. Why do you continue to rely on your physical bodies which move, and on the external environment which also moves? From the beginning to the end, this causes your every thought to be subject to production and extinction. You have lost your true nature, and conduct yourselves in upside-down ways. Having lost your true nature and mind, you take objects to be yourself, and so you cling to revolving on the wheel of rebirth." The end of Volume 1.